Hello, David here from the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. Donna and I are taking a much-needed break for the Thanksgiving holiday, and so I hope you guys are as well. So what we've done, and so that we don't miss any kind of broadcast opportunity here, is we've went back into the archives and grabbed one of our most popular episodes to do a replay for those of you who might be new listeners and haven't heard this particular episode. So take a listen to it. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. And make sure on this Black Friday that you, number one, are careful. But number two, make sure also that you pay close attention to things that you may be getting in your email over the next few weeks. There will be a lot of phishing scams and things that will be coming to your email inbox. So be very, very diligent about making sure to protect yourself online. So for Donna and myself, have a wonderful Thanksgiving season, and we'll be back next week.
So basically, it's like if you educate yourself on cybersecurity, then it'll unlock your data. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I hope you educated yourself.
I did agitate it. That's how you say education and agitation all together.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims from HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Cardin Compliance. Good afternoon, Donna.
Is it afternoon?
Oh, it is now.
It is afternoon. Good afternoon, David.
Oh, so today we're going to take a little break from all this scary ransomware stuff that we've done a lot of lately. And we're going to go back and we've done some episodes before about common compliance or common HIPAA myths, but it was really based more on what OCR says and HHA says are their common myths. But we've been doing this long enough to have some different opinions and myths that we see in the real world. And of course, we always look for any reason to get on a soapbox. So we're going to get to review some of our common myths that we see and hear on almost a daily basis, really, and talk about what those are and how kind of crazy they are, because some of them are nuts. And then others are problematic of things that are just people who don't understand how HIPAA applies to them. And so, you have to fight that myth as well. So we'll cover all those in today's episode. What do you say about that?
Yeah, it sounds good.
It sounds
we
good.
We can call it myths or misconceptions, but either way, it's stuff that people say that we're just like, come on, man.
This is going to be our Mythbusters episode.
Yeah, that's it. Borrowing something from ESPN. Come on, man.
Yeah.
But, everybody knows that. So
yeah, maybe this could be the face palm episode. Because don't you do that every time you hear one of these? It's like, my gosh.
Yep.
But some of them,
many of them we've ranted about before, so it'll be easy to re-rant.
Yeah, but we're doing a collection of rants in one episode.
I can't wait to hear you rip one then. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Okay. So we've got 8 of them, and we'll try to keep it to 8. We're trying to chase too many rabbits. But, some of them just to, I guess, kind of throw it out there. Some of them are things that people say that, they just don't understand. So, not picking and making fun of them necessarily. But others of them are just people trying to get away with, just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But one of the things that we mention quite a bit, and this will be number 1, and they're in no particular order, so it doesn't mean that number 1's any worse than number 8. But the one that we hate the most is when we see, typically on a website of somebody that's selling services, the phrase HIPAA made easy.
It's like torture. It's like nails on a chalkboard. For those of you who remember a chalkboard.
It's like nails on what is it now? What do they call them now? It's not even a whiteboard anymore. They have something else.
No, because now you broadcast to it. So
yeah, I don't even know what they call it.
I don't know. They missed that need to walk in the door and go, but HIPAA made easy. Yes, there are things and tools you can use to make it easier.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But to imply that all you have to do is this and you're done is where we end up with people who their risk analysis ends up being a checklist that they checked off and now they're done and they just do a checklist.
Yeah. Or they ran a tool and it spit out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they don't read it. And the tool spits out something different next time. So they should be good, but that they're not reading it. And there's a lot of that goes on. Or there are people that the tool dumps out a bunch of stuff and it's like, well, you're going to need to pay me 20 grand to deal with this one issue on the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about we not find the most expensive thing and we figure out what's reasonable and appropriate in the environment? We deal with it. But there's no HIPAA made easy solution, in my opinion, that it's misinforming people.
Mm-hmm.
How about that, David?
Yeah. I mean, we see it. I see it a lot targeting BAs, especially in the IT field, because these people that sell solutions see the IT field as a sales force for them. So they're able to, get MSPs and IT professionals to come in. They do the HIPAA made easy thing. You go through a few little small videos and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you can sell our solution because now you're compliant. Here's your policies and procedures right here. Here, we made them for you.
Yeah. And no one ever looks at them. No one ever even completes them.
Yeah. And it's like, if you were to actually pick them up and look at them and say, oh, so your policy about password management is this? And they'll go, no, we don't do that. This is your policy.
Yeah. That goes back to our rants about policy and procedure templates. And we get people, I'm going through an assessment right now where they answered yes to all this stuff and attached a policy saying, well, the policy says it handles that. No, but they got the policy, from a lawyer who said it was easy.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So the number one thing to look out for, at least on the list, if anybody says HIPAA is easy or HIPAA is made easy, then keep your eyes open. Might want to be aware of that. But
now we're on the flip side.
Yeah, and that brings us to number 2, which is HIPAA's not, so hard or so expensive or so overreaching that you shouldn't bother to even try to do it either. And we hear that. We hear that a lot, actually. Well, I don't have time to do it. HIPAA's hard. It's too hard. Yes, it's harder than easy, and it's not so hard that you can't do it. I mean, I did it.
Really? And they say it's expensive, and a lot of times it's this misconception that in order to do my compliance, I have to put in all new network, all new, systems, and generally that comes from, there's a lot of vendors that the only way that they'll tell you you're compliant is if you buy all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's a misconception on both parts often that the vendor thinks this is all that, I've dealt with phone vendors who think that they can't sell certain internet connections because it's not HIPAA compliant because somebody told them that kind of internet connection wasn't HIPAA compliant. I'm like, the internet connection doesn't matter at all. So they're telling people they have to buy this more expensive one because somebody told them incorrectly.
Right. Yeah. And there too, years ago, before there were more people in the market doing security risk analysis, I mean, even a small office could expect to pay, 5 figures or more just for a security risk analysis. And I think that that's another thing too that I've run into anyway, where a client will say, well, I had somebody come out here, 8 years ago, and they were going to charge me 10 grand to do an analysis. And, and I'm looking at them going, holy cow, that's a lot of money for analysis on an office that has 4 computers and 3 employees.
Yeah. And by the way, all it did, and I've gone into those sites where they paid that money and I say, okay, well, let me see it. And they get this gray 3-ring binder out and it's got all these reports in it. And the cover page is a printed spreadsheet and it says things like security risk analysis completed. the office will do one in May of next year. It's like, yeah, all they did was say you're going to do one.
Yep.
So, but people get confused. So it is, in a lot of ways, mass confusion that creates these myths.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've made a point before in saying this, and it's worth saying again, that, HIPAA itself doesn't really come close to meeting what the security industry recommends as being standards for an extensive cybersecurity framework. Mm-hmm. So, when you start getting into, HIPAA is way up here and all that, really it's not. HIPAA is kind of I wouldn't say the bottom, but it's, it's kind of like these are your, this is kind of your entry level. This is where you need to be. But really, if you're going to do it, next level up, then it's not, it's not just HIPAA. It's getting into the cybersecurity framework and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more. And we see it too, where people go, I just want to know what's the minimum I have to do. Which is, it's a terrible.
Well, they're not looking at it and saying I have a problem to solve. They're saying I have a compliance thing to check off my list.
Yeah. And,
and they're not recognizing that HIPAA is designed to help you solve a problem that you are clearly not recognizing you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's more, our call tag, it's not about compliance. It is about patient care, which goes into the privacy of the patient care, the security of the patient data, all that goes into one. And HIPAA is set up to help you do that in a reasonable and appropriate manner. And then that can funnel into other things like the cybersecurity framework and other things that really you should be doing anyway, whether you're dealing with patient information or you're just running a business. You, especially nowadays, because I'm telling you, by the end of 2017, it's going to be crazy what you're going to hear coming out of ransomware and breaches and all that. I mean, did you see the ransomware story where it'll encrypt the data and it will unencrypt it if you go through and read so many cybersecurity articles or something like that? So basically, it's like if you educate yourself on cybersecurity, then it'll unlock your data. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I hope you educated yourself.
I did educate it. That's how you say education and agitation all together.
But and you're right. It's gonna continue to change. We just talked about that, and we talked about all of these things. But what I'm trying to get people to understand right now is, like, if you look at PCI is controlled by the credit card industry. Mm-hmm. They did that themselves to prevent dealing with regulations to secure them after, all the stuff happened. So PCI as a standard didn't come out until mid 2000s. So around the 2005, 2003, when HIPAA first came into effect, is when PCI 1.0 came out, right? So here today, we're still trying to get people at essentially what is HIPAA 2.0, right? The high-tech standards that made it HIPAA 2.0, which didn't affect any security standards. It hasn't changed since 2005. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people that work today in healthcare IT weren't even out of high school in 2005, maybe not out of middle school. So we are due more security changes to actually go to HIPAA 3.0 because PCI is sitting there well into the 3-point-something standards. So they've passed us in a short amount of time. And here we've had HIPAA since 1996, so 20 years. We haven't even gotten to 3.0. And so what happened is where if we had paid attention and done what we were supposed to do starting in 2000, 2005, that is, if we had been doing those things, we wouldn't have as many problems as we have today in healthcare with breaches and cybersecurity attacks. Because we've talked about it before. If you look at the list of things that they say will help you prevent ransomware and cyber attacks, every single one of them is something that you would do in HIPAA.
Yeah. We should at least be at like HIPAA XP by now.
Gosh.
Instead of HIPAA 3.1 for work groups.
Yeah, there you go.
There's your little IT humor.
Yeah. Yuck. See, other people are like, all right, there they go, propeller spinning.
Yep.
So, but know that HIPAA is not being compliant with HIPAA is not mean that you have security. Compliance is not security. Is what I'm saying. And HIPAA 3.0 is coming.
Yep.
There's no way it's not coming, because when you look at the National Cybersecurity Framework, which was designed to define common requirements for the critical infrastructure, which, by the way, healthcare is one of them, then that structure of all those 100-some elements, 19 is what HIPAA has. So there's an indicator of how much change really is coming.
Mm-hmm.
We need more. So it is a reasonable and appropriate standard. It gives you some flexibility. And if you don't get it on HIPAA 2.0, not only are you risking your patient's data, your business, and all of that other stuff, but also you'll never catch up to 3.0.
So in other words, HIPAA made easy is about to get made harder.
Yeah, and it's not something you just check off your list. I mean, this is something you do to protect any business.
Yep.
You're just fortunate, actually, in healthcare that you have standards like HIPAA.
Yeah, because a lot of people are just floundering around trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's why they call us. We don't know, but you do HIPAA, so can you do it for us?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get to the next one.
Yeah, this term was born out of somebody who actually said this to me, which is number 3, HIPAA schmippa. Which also rolls into a couple of other things we heard, such as soon as Obamacare is repealed, then HIPAA will go away, or I don't have to do it because of XYZ.
I had a doctor say HIPAA is just much ado about nothing. I'm not bothering with it. Okay. Yeah. All righty then.
Yeah. It's hard to even say anything more than, come on, man.
Come on, man. Yeah, really. I mean, we've talked about this enough. Come on, man. But we are really, right now, they're talking about it in Congress. We're going to repeal Obamacare. And the number of people who are saying, well, that HIPAA is going to go away. I'm like, they're not even remotely connected. They have nothing to do with each other. But then you also have people saying, well, I don't want to repeal ACA. I want to repeal Obamacare. Okay, those two are the same. And so, come on, man. Yeah, leave us out of that whole crazy thing. So.
Yeah, so, wow. Anyway, that quickly brings us to number 4, which is when you hear somebody say, I just can't get to it this month or this quarter, this year, this lifetime. We just don't have the time to do it. Maybe we'll do it later.
Yeah. I promise we'll do it later. And we actually have people that more or less they want us to check on them pretty regularly, so they keep thinking about doing it. And we've had people that we've done that for years, that we just have a little trigger in our system to send them an email, say, hey, just checking on you. And, we just had somebody sign a proposal this week that's probably the 5th one they've gotten, and you got to do it. Again, the same thing with the HIPAA 3.0 is coming, and 2.0 has been out since 2013, and you still don't have it done. And there's a lot of people that still haven't done 1.0. I mean, you know what I mean?
So if your HIPAA manual, when you open it up, if it says still thinking about it, if your documentation is yes, we're thinking about it, then maybe you should do something about it this year.
Or you get the can't you see the OCR auditor and the response, and they get the response, and the first one says your security risk analysis. If you don't have one, tell us why. Well, we're going to do that next year.
Still thinking about it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to get it done. We want to do it. We just don't have time.
We're just waiting on 3.0 to hit, like we heard John talking about.
That's it. It's not going to get better, and you're risking the level of risk at this point is if you're doing nothing, then the level of risk to your patients, your business, your employees, everything is I don't know if it's being overly zealous about stating it or overstating it that it's astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Is it astronomical?
It is interstellarly astronomical.
All right, I don't know what you just said, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars that and the damage to your patients. You're not even caring about the damage to your patients.
Yeah.
So you've got to think about it that way. So anyway, that was number 4.
Yes. So number 5 is another one that, oh man, you got a face palm on this one. This is where you hear typically coming from a covered entity, they'll say, and I'll fill in the blank here, but either my EMR vendor has taken care of HIPAA, so I don't have to do anything, or my IT company does it, so I don't have to do anything, or my hospital does it, so I don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and on the flip side, from the IT company side, I hear this argument as well where they say, you know, I'm using a HIPAA compliant backup, so I'm good. Or I'm using a HIPAA compliant, you know, XYZ, so I'm good. And I'm like, no, you can't like take on their compliance. It's not.
Yeah. Well, first of all, do you even know what makes them HIPAA compliant?
No, they said it. It was on the thing. It said HIPAA made easy.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So if you don't even know what makes them HIPAA compliant, because you clearly don't, if you think that is what does it for you, you know, and you're right. I mean, I have groups that'll say, well, we do a HIPAA compliant backup. We're good to go. Righty then.
Okay.
All right. You let me know when you're ready to learn, because I can't help you right now. I just really can't. But, you know, there you go. But the misconception about cloud EMR vendors is a really big time issue.
Well, sometimes it's not a misconception. Sometimes it's the cloud vendors themselves actually saying that. You know, I haven't heard it in a while, but I know early on we actually caught wind of some vendors out there that were actually saying that. Look, we got your PHI. We're doing HIPAA for you. There's nothing else you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't. Well, first of all, it does. Being in the cloud, I'm a big proponent of it, because if you manage the cloud properly, it is almost always more secure for these smaller groups to be in the cloud than to manage it on their own. Yeah. If you're a small group and you have your own server in there, I can guarantee you are not doing all of the protections you're supposed to do under HIPAA for that server. Mm-hmm. You know, most small groups aren't. They've got the phone guy that looks at it from time to time, or, you know, the doctor's son is the computer guy or whatnot. You're not meeting the standards that are required, and it's not protected properly. If you use the cloud properly, you're better off than having your own server in a small environment. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah. Until you're using Google, and when it pops up and says, would you like us to save your password? You go, yes.
Oh, good God. Please stop me. I said using it properly. Let's be clear. Okay. So, again, this relates back to the HIPAA made easy. It's not like you can just dump that off on somebody else. There are things that everyone in your office should be doing every day. Mm-hmm. Period. You know, I was just, there's a big group where I've been going in, and, well, you know, they're large enough that I have to do the same training over and over and over. And this is the first time I was doing our training program, starting it. And these people have been doing the video training once a year for years and checking it off, you know. And then I go in and I come in and I do our training program, and I did 3 different days, did training, you know, lunch and learn with their staff, 4 different training classes. And by the end of it, I'm walking through the office. So that was did the last one in the beginning of December. I was walking through the office this week, and people are yelling, HIPAA lady! HIPAA! Across the room. You know, they're doing all this stuff. And the person in charge actually said, I had somebody come to me and said, I never cared about HIPAA before. Now I worry about it every day. You know, you have to care about this stuff. And, you know, that training that we talk about, how you going to say somebody else is doing that for you? How are you going to say somebody else is worrying about it every day for you? Mm-hmm. Because you're supposed to worry about it too. Every individual that has access to PHI should be worried about it. So to say it's somebody else, come on, man.
Yeah. Interesting. So that brings us to number 6, which is the I am so small that nobody cares about me, or as paraphrase one of my 16-year-olds, ain't nobody care.
You know what's funny is when you have triplets, I guess you got to remember which one is your 16-year-old that said it.
Yeah, I can just say 16-year-old. I don't have to worry about which one.
Yeah. I don't know which one. There's one of them that said it.
And what's funny is when they're together and somebody asks one of them, like, what's their birthday? And they'll tell them. Then they'll look at the next one and go, when's your birthday? And I'm like, come on, dude, really?
You get their triplets, right? That's good. I like it. Yeah, that's kind of just like the HIPAA stuff. You're clearly not thinking about it. You think that's all you need. So, yeah, I have a problem with I'm so small I don't care, whether it's the HIPAA cases or it's just random people at a party that have to tell me about their computer, because, I still say this. When we were younger, they always talked about the doctors who would be at a party and they didn't want to tell that they were doctors because it always, my elbow hurts or what do you think about this? And in our world today, you don't want to tell that, computers, because either somebody's going to want to challenge you about stuff or they're going to want to get your input on their computers. And, the number of times that I just walk around doing stuff on people's phone and handing them their phone backs around the party. And that happens to me even at expos. I'm going in places. Hey, here's your phone. I fixed it over here at the booth. But
so you get the whole, let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Let me ask you. But so many people say, I don't have to worry about it. There's nothing on my computer that matters.
Yeah, wrong.
And it's the same approach in the small groups that say, I don't have enough. They're not going to come after me. They don't get the concept that those bad guys are out there scanning for anything. Mm-hmm. They may target you because you're medical, and if they find you because of that, but they're also scanning for anybody at any time that they can get into. Mm-hmm. And if they get into you, then there's like 20 different things they can use your equipment for that has nothing to do with pictures of your kids. All I have is pictures of the grandkids. It don't matter. Oh, that computer now becomes an attack force. It's a soldier in an attack army out in the cyber war. And you just joined the side of the bad guys. So there you go. You just allowed yourself to become a terrorist. Think of it that way. That's what I'm going to start telling people. That just came to me. I'm going to start telling people that. Next time they tell me, oh, so you don't mind being a terrorist? Because that's what you'll be.
Get you some stickers and slap on them.
Yeah, no, really, just right on the forehead is what I want. I'm a terrorist. So, but you got that might get people's attention. So anyway, there's no such thing as I'm so small.
Yeah,
it's not about them caring about you. It's about protecting your patients.
Yeah, and a lot of it's not okay. Let's say you are small and. Let's say you're never going to get audited because you didn't get drawn in a hat. Let's say you skirted under all the cyber stuff that's going on. That still doesn't mean that somebody sitting at your front desk is not going to send out the email of improper information to 1,000 different people that they shouldn't have had.
Or download the spreadsheet and sell it to identity thieves.
Mm-hmm. Or, take somebody's medical records of somebody else's baby mama because you mad about it or something.
Yeah, my brother's involved in this lawsuit, and I've got the information right here that proves that she was sleeping with somebody else who had an STD. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It happens every day.
Yep. And everything we just said is not made up. That's all stuff that actually happened.
Yeah. There's lawsuits about it, and there's things that go horribly awry. And even, the sad story about Farrah Fawcett, that's one of the most famous ones. It's a very sad story that the UCLA Medical Center, she was absolutely certain that everything that ended up in the news about her cancer situation was coming out of that hospital. She couldn't figure out where. And so she was like, really on a quest to prove that it was, because they kept insisting that it wasn't. And then once she was able to prove it, and they did figure it out, The woman that was doing it had been there for years.
Mm-hmm.
Had been there for years. She worked at the one, like the front desk or medical records or where, got cancer, needed money.
Yep.
You don't know people. You don't know.
Hmm.
So you don't want to be the easy way out. So there you go.
That brings us to number 7.
Yeah, these last two, they kind of go together like some of the others.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, and I'm not talking about in a two great taste that tastes great together. Not peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go ahead and you do the.
All right. So number 7 is when you say, and we mentioned this earlier, but my vendor says they're HIPAA compliant and they signed a BAA, so I don't have to worry about anything. And they have no responsibility. HIPAA doesn't. Somebody else's compliance doesn't go uphill.
Well, yeah, but more than that is if you don't even ask your business associate, if they sign the BAA, that's enough. I don't have to worry about them. Because if they screw up, guess who's the one that's got to tell somebody? Because if you're a business associate, if you and I were to screw up, we tell our covered entities.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are the business associate of another business associate, we tell our business associate, who then has to tell their covered entities.
Right.
So it ends at the covered entity or the uphill business associate. So everything moves uphill, not the compliance capabilities. You can't outsource that. But if anything goes wrong, everything moves uphill. So it is absolutely worth asking, what is it that you're actually doing? And this comes back to vetting your vendors. And that whole, what was it? There was one we talked about where the vendor signed the BAA and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were the reason there was a breach that ended up costing like $9 million and the whole company wasn't even worth $4 million.
Oh, gosh.
So there's no way they could help. They just kind of got out of medical and everybody was just like, yeah, there's nothing there. You just go away.
Yeah.
But you can't just say, well, they signed the BAA. I don't have to worry about it.
All right.
And if they signed it, and here's a good one. If their compliance is better than yours, that's going to start being another problem.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a form letter now. If we're working with a client and they're just refusing to do this, I'm like, you can destroy me. I can't risk you paying me to be here to be a part of whatever might happen.
But we do see this a lot too with people hiring vendors, especially IT vendors, because a lot of IT vendors think that, as long as I sign this thing called a BAA, as long as I sign that, that's all I need to do. I'm compliant. They're compliant. I meet their obligations. It's all good.
Just a piece of paper.
Yep. That was HIPAA made easy, wasn't it?
But you're right. The problems go uphill when it comes to HIPAA. They don't go downhill,
Mm-hmm.
And so as far as those IT companies go, we deal with it constantly. And it's not just IT companies. It's a lot of others who they take the approach, look, I signed it. And it's like a big IT company, we'll say in the Midwest, signed a BAA with one of my clients. And then we sent them our little assessment. And on every question, like, you understand that you're liable for HIPAA, not applicable. You swear to you, you understand do you have a security officer? Not applicable. Do you do training? Not applicable. And it was like everything. And they're like, look, nobody else asked us this in medical. And I was like, because they hadn't learned to yet, but they're going to start because clearly you don't understand it. You're not doing it. And if you're not doing it for you, you can't possibly be doing it for them.
Yeah.
So, that. But they signed the BAA, and my client's like, well, they signed it. We're good. And I was like, have you asked them anything?
Yeah. Let's
ask them.
Realize that in the BA documentation, it says that you will do these things to protect data and follow compliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually these people went off on me because, I was asking these questions and no clients needed that. It's not worth it to us to do all of that. And I'm like, you signed a thing that said you're doing all these things that you say are not applicable. So, it's like you need to get with the program because you know what? They're applicable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, that's just a piece of paper, and that's what they said. So you can't just assume, because we know what assume does.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
That brings us to 8.
Now, this is what the IT companies really do.
Yeah. So this is where my vendor says that they are not a BAA or BA because they don't look at the PHI.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we hear this a lot.
Yes.
IT companies.
Particularly IT companies, yeah.
Yeah. And not just the IT companies that are walking in the door necessarily, but sometimes it's the IT vendors that are providing other services, but they go, no, I don't have access to your data. I don't look at it. We don't, in no way do we get exposed to it. I'm not a business associate. I don't even want to be exposed to it. It doesn't quite work that way. And I think where we had the biggest problem with this particular thing was a year or so ago when the people that house servers for other IT companies or medical, they were having an argument about, well, we just stick it into our cage and we give the clients access to it, but we don't do anything to it. We don't touch it. So not so much.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have an attorney give you an opinion that is the case when you get down to that, or you need to go on to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we hear that one. Well, we don't have a login to the EHR. Do you have complete control of the entire network, the server, the access to the firewalls and the gateways, and administrative control of who can log in to these networks and monitor traffic? Oh, yeah, we're the IT people. Okay. You don't think that gives you the ability to get into that EHR? Well, we wouldn't do that. Hello. We're not planning for everything to go right. If everything went right all the time, we wouldn't need these kinds of things.
Well, it's not only that, but OCR has made it a point to say it's not whether you look at it or not. It's, it's do you have...
It's that you can.
Right. Do you have physical access? Whether you access it or not, it's another thing. Mm-hmm. And it's, for another thing for IT companies is like they have let's say it's a server and the data's on there and the IT guy says, well, I can't fix it on site. It's Friday afternoon. I'll take it back to the shop and work on it and bring it back to you Monday or Tuesday. Now you have PHI in your possession that you've taken off site into your shop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't encrypted and somebody's driving around to it, going to lunch. They leave it in the car when they go home. There's a million ways things can go wrong if you don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Tons of laptops stolen from cars.
All the time. Or the IT, I got all excited. The IT company who was picking up the backup disks and managing them.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you an even better one.
And they lost them all.
The vendor, the cloud EMR vendor, I'm moving to another vendor. So they send me all of my files in a XML data dump on a unencrypted USB drive in the mail.
Oh, awesome.
And, this drive is floating around between everybody in the office and people outside the office and crazy. Happened. True story.
Yeah. I mean, every day we run into this with people having this attitude of, well, I'm not going to look at this and therefore it makes me not a BA. But on the flip side, and this one's one in the news right now, which was kind of interesting in a way, that you can't just make everybody a BA and say, because I've now made you a BA, I can give you information.
Okay.
That goes the other way. And there is a Virginia senator who has gotten away with it because I think it was like, oh, I honestly thought this. But at any rate, this doctor was running for Senate and takes the campaign, her organization that's running her campaign, makes them a BA.
Okay.
Of her practice.
Okay. I'm listening.
Makes them a BA. They sign a BAA. And then she gives them the list of her patients, and they do a mailing asking for them to volunteer, to vote, to give money, all this kind of stuff. And it's okay because she had them sign a BAA.
Face palm.
Yeah. Well, just because you sign the BAA does not mean you should have access to the data, number one. And number two is if you're signing a BAA, but you're planning on not doing any of this stuff because you deliver office supplies, which I've seen this happen, don't sign it, please, because you're committing to doing a whole bunch of stuff that you're never going to do, that you don't need to do. But this whole idea that she could just get her campaign to sign a BAA, and now I can give you a list of patients, and you can go out and get them to volunteer, vote, send money to my campaign was okay. Yeah. So OCR investigated it because clearly some patients were not happy. And, because they used hey, we thought we were okay because we sent out, they signed a BAA. Well, that doesn't fall under accepted uses and disclosures. It doesn't fall under accepted marketing options. Nothing. It had nothing to do with patient care. It was all about the doctor. So she's going to get away with it. But I guarantee you the next one that tries it or gets caught at it, I'm sure there's others trying it. The next one that gets caught at it isn't going to get a pass. I don't think so. But this whole thing about who should sign one, so you got people that should be signing them that refuse to, or they sign them and don't do it. Then you got people who don't need to sign them that are signing them because that's what I need to do to get the business. And then you got people that are signing them so they can get to data that they have no right to get to.
I just had this very thing happen to me earlier in the week, actually. Client calls, and fortunately, they have enough, foresight to pick up the phone and call. But they're standing there with the cleaning lady from the cleaning company, and she goes, "Do I need to get them to sign a BAA?" And I was like, "No, you don't. But thanks for calling."
Yeah. And that one is one, there are many things that need to change in HIPAA. And I believe that with those cleaning services, you need to get at least some sort of a confidentiality agreement with them because under HIPAA, it doesn't apply. The BAA doesn't apply. To do their job, they don't need access to data.
Right.
So there's nothing in cleaning that requires access to PHI.
But, but.
But.
This is a big but. And I cannot lie.
You other brothers can't deny. So there are cases where cleaning companies, people that were temp workers for cleaning companies, were coming in and putting in key loggers and all kinds of other stuff and actually stealing the data and using it for identity theft and credit card fraud and all this other stuff. So that it does give them the opportunity to get to it, but they're not required to have access to it to do their job. So it's on you to keep them from having access to it.
And there's also a lot of, you want to call it incidental exposure, but when you've got, 30 charts sitting in your desk and somebody's thumbing through them, that's not incidental exposure.
No. Or the whole, list of patients afterwards. So there you have it.
Yes. So that is we did pretty good. We got through 8 of them and didn't rant too bad on any of them.
I know, really.
We actually had a bet before we hit record that we couldn't get through all 8 of them.
Yeah. We've made it. All right. Yay.
So, wow.
All right, then, guy.
All right. So,
you want to rant anymore?
I think I'm done. You wore me out on that one.
See, I wrote this one up and I was getting fired up writing it up.
So. I know.
What are all the things that are driving me crazy? Let me put them down.
It's just a rant episode. But, all of it's good stuff. And I still think, even though we're ranting about a lot of it, I think a lot of people are going to listen to this and go, wow, I didn't realize that. Or, ooh, I did that. Maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah, we don't think all of this is malicious activity.
No.
We think it's absolutely misconceptions in most cases. Yeah. Now, there's some where people know what they're doing and they're going out of their way to try to not be a business associate and finding, they go to 15 lawyers till they find one that says you don't have to worry about it, But they're making an effort, at least, to prove it. But most people, it's just they don't understand. They've been given wrong information.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have
Very
it.
true.
And we're done.
That is our show for today, folks. So I'd like to thank you for listening as always. And we'd like to also invite you to rate us on iTunes, share us out on social media. Again, we'd like to thank those who share us out every single week because we do appreciate that. Visit us on the web at helpmewithhipaa.com. Remember, we do have some courses there. I just revamped some of them this week as far as some of the front end stuff. So we have courses for HIPAA for covered entities and HIPAA for business associates. So if you want to go through a high level introductory course for that, then we have those there that you can purchase and go through. Much better than anything else you'll find on the market, I should say. So go check those out. Like I said, they're at our website, helpmewithhipaa.com, under the courses section. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave those right there on the front page. So remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.